Now I introduce Rosamaria Eisler and her wonderful work.
Alright, so I'm Rosamaria. Actually, my last name before I got married was Guevara, like the Che Guevara, Rosales. So I got as much as I could and as little I could also. So where should I start? When I was born like everybody else?
Yeah.
Don't kill me because he said, I'm going to show this and this and that. And
You got to tell us how old you are, Joe?
Yes, I'm 63. I was born in 1948.
There you go.
I'm like Barbara. Anything else? Do you know who I live with? Anyway,
No.
so wait, later. So I was born in Mexico City, September 7, 1948, like he said. I don't care about my age, I love it. This is the best time of my life. After 50, I just... I'm going down and all that, but I'm trying to stay young. So, anyway, so I grew up, I'm the youngest of, we were 8, then we were 6 when I was born, and now we are 5. Margarita, my sister, passed away last year, and some of you knew it, because she was an artist also, very good, and she came to visit me, she was a model. But anyway, yeah, I want to tell you about when I was little. My father and my mother, when they decided to have another kid by accident, it was me, and I always say that, because I was the number 8, they went to Mexico City. I was born in a house where my older sister was born, and from there they took the train back into the town. So I grew up in the little town until I was 5 years old. The place is called Santa Rosa. That's why my name is Rosa, but since we were Catholic, or I was born Catholic, they put Maria to everything. So Rosamaria. I always said if I was born in Pacho, you know what happened, Pacho. But anyway, no, seriously. So since I was the little one, I was a spoiled brat and going every which way and don't know. So my childhood was the best. I didn't know that we didn't have television and electricity and all those things, but I didn't care. We have food, and my mother had a bunch of chickens and whatever, so we were well fed, everything was fine. But there is one thing, I have to thank my mother, because she was the most precious woman, so beautiful. But thank her because when I was a little girl, like everybody else, I wanted to paint, but I didn't have pencils, there was nothing in that town. And my older sister went to live in the city, and I was left with another sister and my brother. So my mommy was so nice that she gave me chalk from the fire. We had a big, it was a big house, and outdoor, the kitchen was sort of outdoor in the corner, so she gave me charcoal, and I started doing my first murals on the wall, and she didn't care. And the walls of the kitchen and the corridor, which was very big, so I started going there, ching, 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 and she said, that's fine. And the next day, it was white again, because she went with cow, or you know, so she put again and again and again, so the walls were like this. But anyway, when I was 5 years old, they took me away from my mommy, too bad, and I went to live in the city with my father and with the rest of the family. And when I got there, I liked it because I started going to kindergarten, and I started learning what Crayolas were, you know, crayons. And I was going every which way with the teacher. She was very good. Virginia, what's her name? And she remembers me. She passed away a couple of years, but she remembered me. And she took me to museums. And the first person that I met as an artist when I was 5 and a half, was Diego Rivera.
Wow.
His murals in Cuernavaca. The murals were there. And what I got so surprised and so wondered was the white horse that he got in the MoMA, the later on. But anyway, so I love it. And yeah, and then those beautiful sculptures that they have there also in the museum. So, and I said I have to thank my mother, because my mother, when she was a little girl, like a 4 or 5, her father died, and they got separated again, like eight people in their family. But my mother was lucky because she went to an orphanage in Mexico City, and it was from Italian nuns, with Italian nuns. So my mother spoke Italian, learned how to speak Italian, opera, music, and all the arts, because she felt like she was already in Rome without going, because of the nuns, they traveled. So anyway, so she used to tell me all about it, you know, and she always said, you have to go farther, 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 keep going, keep going. And she used to show us and draw about the world, which I didn't know. I thought that the world was a square, and the long one, when I was a little girl. But anyway, so she told us, you know, you have to keep going and going and going. So we kept going all sisters and brothers, they became somebody, PhDs and whatever, but we all went to college. After I grew up, when I was like 17, 18, I told my father, I want to go to Mexico City. I want to do art. And I want to go to, at that time, La Esmeralda, they used to call it, and it's still there. So he said no, and I said, why no? Because you're a little girl, and you know, she thought that I was a little girl until I was 40, I guess. And he didn't know, and an innocent girl. So I couldn't go. So I said, what am I going to do here in Cuernavaca? So they said, well, you have to go to college. And I said, what am I going to do? So they pushed me to go to the chemistry school. I didn't want it. I didn't want to be a chemist at all. And but my first 2 years, it was just boyfriend, 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 boyfriend. I was 18 and I was just a riot. My 2 first years in college were the worst because I did pretty bad. At the end, they sent a letter to my house and they said, sorry, but if she does that again, she's going out of the school. And so my father read the rights to me, that I still remember. I was sitting and he told me, so I said, okay, okay. So I went back to college and I did the best and I got A's until the end. And I said, if I'm going to be a chemist, I'm going to be the best. Okay, I graduated in December 69 and in January 70, I was in Texas because I wanted to get a master in chemistry. So I was there for a year and 8 months. And then I went back to Mexico because my father was pretty ill and he passed away. So while I was there, I was a little homesick because I was working so hard. I did everything. I was working. I lived with a family and I did 5 work. But anyway, so when I was in Mexico City, I found a job. It was an American corporation, Sharing Plow. And it was a big one. So I took advantage because I knew a little bit of Texan English, a little bit more. They sent me to the States, back and forth to New Jersey, to the headquarters. And after a little while, after 5 years that I was with the company, I met one of those things. I met the CEO of the company that happens to be, he was in Mexico, and the children, his children, they were born in Mexico. They invited me over to their house, because, not just me, somebody else. And we were there, and I was so thrilled telling them how beautiful it was working and research right there. And they said, would you like to stay? Would you like to come? And I said, absolutely. So there goes interviews and more interviews, government visas and so. It took me 4 years. And I came to the States just straight from the company to the other company. Same formula, same everything. So it was easy. But it was very good because in Mexico we used to work harder. And here we had breaks, which we didn't have over there, and so. But through all these years, when I was in college, I met a nun, a French nun, which I didn't know that it was a nun, and she told me watercolor. And I started taking classes in the University of Watercolor, and I didn't know that she was a nun because it was in the 60s, 66, 67, and she used to wear a big long dress, and I was the same with flowers, you know, a 60 girl. And then she invited me to her reception, an art reception, my first formal, and I went, wow! And she, right there, I knew that she was a nun because everybody was, you know, nuns. So I said, okay. So she was my first teacher, watercolor. But after I came to the States, and while I was in Mexico, I started taking watercolors. I thought that watercolors was the only thing that it was there. So in New Jersey, watercolors again. Suddenly, I met my husband before I came to the States permanently. I met him in Texas. He was a chemist from the FDA. I was a chemist from Mexico. So believe me, some of you met him. When I saw him, I was like, wow, tum, 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 tum. And I said, no. And just after when I came to New Jersey, we met again. He asked me to go to Washington. I went, and the rest was history. We got married, and we have a child that is in heaven. But anyway, but I kept taking watercolors. So then we moved to Long Island in 1982. So when we came from Washington to Long Island, again, I started asking, who can teach watercolor? And we live in East Patchogue, and I went to the South Country Library in Belport. So I met Nancy Elfenbein. She was giving classes, watercolor classes, and I went to the class, and I was so happy that she was there. And this was a beautiful woman, or it is a beautiful woman, that she used a big brush, and I started using big brushes. But anyway, and Nancy Elfenbein told me, she said, if you pay the class, it was like $25 the class, and she said, you can pay 25 or you can pay 20. And I said, wow, how come if you become a member of the South Bay Art Association? I said, the what? So in 1982, at the end, I went to the South Bay and I stayed there until now. And then, you know, I was the hostess, I was the everything, the president twice and so on, so on. So while I was there in the 80s, I started meeting all these artists, beautiful artists, and because of them, I went to tours, artist tours in the East Ends from Jimmy Ernst at that time, and with those artist tours, I started meeting more and more artists in their studios, and one did a big impression on me, and you'll see why. But in the meanwhile, I said, what is it? It's just watercolors, what is there? So when I was in the South Bay, there was an empty store in Belport Lane. And I was with these artists, Sucrian and Rosamaria, you know, that type of artists. So I asked them, why don't we get together and get a gallery in here? Let's do something. And they said, oh, no, it's too much work. But thanks to Larry, because he was walking in the same street with Nancy, they started putting their heads together and said, let's open a gallery, let's get together with the artists. There was this beautiful framing place, I always say beautiful, in Medford with Bill Sheridan, and they used to have the artist, the sketch of the artist every week. So I went there, Larry did a portrait of me and some people, and my husband, and Marlene was there, Carl Ruggiero. So I started meeting all these people, and I go, wow. Then Larry and another artist, they asked me, would you like to come and hear what we have to say about the Belport Lane, about the gallery that we want to open? I said, yes. So I went, and I was the one with the least experience, but they gave me the chance. And so we started the gallery with 12 people, then with 10 people, 10 artists. Some of them, they went to heaven. Charlie Ellis was there. Jack Van Dyck, that I was thinking about his wife. And so anyway, so that one kept, the guys were showing beautiful landscapes and beautiful things, and I was like, wow. So I started asking who can teach me how to paint like all the oil painters. So Jack Van Dyck said that he was busy, and he said, but I can give you some names. So I said, okay. One of those tours, artist tours, I went to Shelter Island with the artists that I knew. And I met a beautiful person, an Italian. Italy is in my heart. I'm Mexican, but I'm Italian by heart. I'm serious. Yo parlo italiano. Yo no sono italiana, siempre digo. But anyway, so I met Professor Mosca, August Mosca. And I saw his work, and it was just gorgeous. He painted portraits of the people of Shelter Island, the butcher, the little girl doing the first communion with the priest. Every person of Shelter Island, he started doing it. So his paintings are now in the Historical Society, because when he went to heaven, he donated. So they are big. So I saw them, I said, wow, I want to be like you. How can you teach me? Please, please teach me. And he said, do you know anything about oil? And I said, no, but I can learn. And so he told me to go 10 o'clock, 10 to 12, just a trial basis. And I stayed with him for 5 years until he started losing certain parts of his body, the eyes, the hearing, and so on. So he started talking to me, but it wasn't, I was there at 8:30 and the ferry at 7. And I was waiting and waiting for him, and I started doing the cleaning in the studio and the plants and whatever. But we had a terrific bond, because I stayed until 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock with him painting and talking. He taught me so much, because he knew Picasso, and he was from Europe. So he told me about all these artists. He gave me art history classes. So, and he told me, I'm not going to teach you how to do it. You do it your way, and I'm just going to teach you about color. So anyway, so he was very good influence. And meanwhile, I started showing in the gallery my little oils and so on. After we were in the gallery 7 years, they moved into the Phoenix galleries, 5 of them. They started the gallery, and I couldn't afford it, because at that precise moment is when Milton went to heaven, 2001, and I didn't know how I was going to survive, you know, with all the things that they were going on. And so I say no, but I can be here on a yearly basis. So I was there every month, and I was taking care of the gallery. That's what I met a lot of you in there, and so on. So back to wet paints now. When I was in the 1980s, I met Marlene, and Marlene pastels, and I said, what is pastel? And so again, so I started learning pastels with Marlene, and I was in her studio every week, and I learned from Marlene not just pastels, but I learned how to teach, because she was dedicated to us. And I said, well, leave me alone, do some of your work. No. And I was the only one sometimes, or two people, and she was right there with me, and I said, oh, I like this. So I learned with her. Before I went to Marlene, I said I was doing watercolors. I did this one on my own because I went to Rockport with my husband, and I didn't take a picture, but I had, my mind at that time, it was very good, like somebody that is sitting there that could. So I did some sketches, I have to tell you. But I did my first watercolor officially to put in the South Bay, and this is my first one with the same frame, the same mat. And I didn't know how to frame. I never changed it. I want to leave it like this. And this was the first one, and it won first prize, and I was like, ooh. So I said, I have to go back to Rockport and so. But notice that there are some umbrellas.
Oh, yeah.
And they started in there. So, and then my husband was so beautiful because I went to paint outdoors, but watercolors only. And he went with me. He just sat, read the newspaper, talked with people. And I was painting, and he went to sleep, and he was snoring, whatever, and I was painting. This one I did it on the spot, and this is the same years in the 80s and the 83, and this is Milton. And then he was laughing because at the beginning I put his shoes, the same size of the shoe, the left one. So that was my husband, and he was reading, and we were in the north by the labs in the the laboratories.
Cold Spring?
Yeah, and that's what I saw over there. So that was, I was so happy, and when we got home, he said, woman, my foot is the same, and I said, oopsie, so I learned how to erase, how to put it there. So that was my first watercolors outdoors. Okay, so I went with Marlene, and Marlene, I said, I didn't know what to do, so I started doing from photograph. So I did a series, I did a lot with Marlene because I wanted to learn, when I want to learn something, no matter what it is, cooking, knitting, whatever, I try my best to do more and more. And with Marlene I was doing, and I started with animals. I didn't have a dog, I didn't work in a dog at that time, later on I did it. So I started with birds. And I love it because they're hanging in my house. They are not for sale. There never will be. But this one, it was a bird of pride. And I like it because I was putting the eyelashes and all that with the pastels. So I did plenty of this, including the tiger that everybody does, from a photograph, the tiger and horses. But then I started going outdoor by painting hollow and taking pictures of horses. So I did an Andalusian, another horse. Those one, when somebody likes something and they say, oh, I like it, I give it to my neighbors because it's too much what I have. But some I keep. This one I will keep it forever. It's funny, you have the Indian in here, and I have my Einstein. My husband didn't look like Einstein, but he was from Europe, his mother from about the same part. So one day I saw Einstein in a magazine, in a book, and I always liked him. I used to have a picture of him in in the office. So I told Milton, can you pose for Einstein? I don't want to copy him. So I got his ears, his this, and he went like this with the hair. And he was scared, and he went like this, and I started doing it. So that's Einstein with little bit of the eyes of Milton, the eyebrows, the ears, but it was because I was copying him with the, so that was very, but I did it with Marlene's help because she was guiding me, do this and do that, and it was great. So that was my watercolor. All right, so what happened, I went to, when I was mentioned that I went to the artist tour, I met who? But Dan Weldon, printmaker. I was in the gallery before. And when I was in the gallery, Professor Mosca, when I asked him, how can I become an artist? I'm learning pastels, I'm learning this, I'm learning that. And he said, oh, woman, you have a long way. And I said, but how can I become an artist? Is there any book that tells you 1, 2, 3? He said, no. If you want to learn how to be an artist, go back to school. And I said, I'm too old. So I was 47. So he said, go back. So there we go. The first day with my apple, I went like this to Stony Brook. I registered, and it was so lucky because I didn't have to take anything but art studio. All the art studio classes. and in 2.5 years because it was an intensive. And then my first week in there, Professor Perkaski, a beautiful artist, he asked me, he took me on the side and he said, Mrs. Eisler, because he was always, he was toughy, but he was, Mrs. Eisler, I said, yes. And he said, I have something to tell you. He took me on the side and he said, go for the double major. He said, don't just get the art studio, get your art history. And I was taking art history. So I went to there, and so I graduated with the art studio and the art studio and with the art history and criticism, and it was good. So I graduated, and immediately when I graduated, and that summer is when I met Dan Weldon. Well, I was in Stony Brook. I did big paintings and little paintings. Professor Pindell, I just met her in Adelphi. She had a show last month, and she remembered me, and I was like, oh, wow. And there were a lot of influence, very contemporary. I didn't know many of the things that they told me. It was, well, I learned. But I stopped doing the watercolors, by the way. So what I started doing was my bodies. I love to draw men and women. And the first time that I saw the nude, I was like, ha! And I go, what? And I was surprised. I never saw a new person like that. That was before my God. No, but anyway, I love doing that. I love it. And the friends that I have, I always say, you got a beautiful body. Can you pose for me? One person did it. And so I started doing the body, and I started doing, in the Stony Brook, like every school, they ask you to do your face, your portrait. And so I did my portrait, but guess what? I told my teacher, and I said, I feel so beautiful today, I'm so happy. And she said, do your portrait. And so I put myself pearls and flowers and so. Another time I go like, God, it's crummy, my husband did this, and do your portrait. So I was like that. So I did all types of portraits, and then I started doing myself in the nude. And this is me, but I sit down, you don't see anything, but that was me. But I like it because I was sitting and looking at the mirror, so I started using the mirror to my advantage, and so I did that with pencil, just pencil. Thank you, but I have many. So while I met Dan Weldon, I said, he was working in solar plate, and I asked, what is a solar plate? And he told me, and I said, can you teach me? And he said, no, I'm too busy. I'm going to have a workshop. And I said, may I come? She said, no, it's by invitation only. And I said, well, invite me. And he said, forget it. And he said, only the people that I know. And I was like, I'm Rosamaria Eisler, nice meeting you. And I said, now you know me. Bad words, but she's... Anyway, so the woman that was with me bought one of his, one print. So the woman said to him, come on, take her. You are going to like her. She says, yeah. And I said, yeah, I want to learn. Come on, you're going to like me. And I was joking. And he said, okay, come on Monday and we'll see. So I was there, and on the second day, he took me on the side and he said, you want to be my assistant? And I said, absolutely. Wow. So I started learning. This is the time when he was working on his book, the artist book, the solar plate book, and so on. So I started learning solar plates. In Stony Brook, I learned lithography on the stones, and I with Professor Levine and Greg Samiello, nice printmakers. And they taught me monotypes, and since I was a chemist before, I was experimenting with the etchings, doing etchings and just breaking everything. This is an etching, and it didn't start like this, but this is acid. I just put a zinc plate in the acid, and I remove it when nobody was there because the acid was almost concentrated. I burned my hands, I burned the whole place almost, but I did it, and this is zinc plate, so I started doing that. And then after I did it, I started looking and I said, oh, this is looking for shelter, and I started doing people, and they're going. But this was one of the ones that I did with the zinc plate. Okay, when you do that, you use acid. And the acid just go into a space if you forget to put the fumes, if you forget to put the fan, the hood, the extraction hood. So I was tasting myself in acid, and that didn't help my health, by the way. And so with Dan Weldon was different. Instead of using acid to develop the plate, we use water, the sun and water. That's it. So I couldn't believe it. So I started going home and I started doing lots and lots and lots of solar plate. And when I started solar plates, I started doing experimental work. For example, I bought so many plates. The plates were expensive, but he gave me 25%. So I used so many, and I started using the plates with my image 1 second, and I did the printing 2 seconds. Then I went to 1 minute, 2 minutes, the development time, and I started experimenting until I finished. I'm serious, like after 50 plates, I said I got it. So since then, I think I got it because I don't ruin any plate at all with my students. When I'm teaching and I look at the plates of the work, I say, oh, this is expensive. We are not gonna waste it, and we don't. But anyway, so I started learning solar plate, and when I was in Stony Brook, I did wood cuts, but very limited. Actually, we started with linoleums, and I asked the professor, can you tell me how to do wood cuts? And he used to say, the next semester is the next semester. And I said, I got enough, so I'm going to learn. So I learned by myself, and this is a wood cut. And I used that woman a lot. I just did it 4 times in here. But I did it so many times. I did it in wood cut, I did it in linoleum. I put color, I didn't put color, and so. And there was the woman again. The woman, black and white.
Oh, I see.
That's it. And the woman again.
Okay.
Wood cut, linoleum. You see
Now,
that?
they're all off the same plate?
No, the wood cut is different. You see that it's looking in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Because when I transfer, I put it wrong,
I
but that's all right. So, and when I was in Belfort, I started looking at all the wood. I was looking, and if I were here, I was looking, I think this one nobody would notice, and I took the wood. I worked with leftovers, and I liked it. And it was leftover, and it's just a guide, because I was just experimenting and just pulling, so that was one of my first wood cuts. So my favorite place to shop is not, I'm not into clothes, I'm the stingy person, my husband used to say, go and buy your clothes. I said, okay. My favorite shop, well, they are stores, but it's Home Depot. Because I find so many things, and so many guys, I always say the strong guys. And anyway, so wood cuts. I started doing it myself. You got it wrong. I started doing myself in wood cut, and then I put color. And I did many, and I framed them. So they're in my house, like a 6 on each side. Then I started looking for pieces of wood, just regular pieces of wood, and I started just carving. And this one actually was gonna be in a sculpture, because I did a sculpture of wood. And it was going to be, but I chopped the nose, and the piece of wood was there, and I was like, so I said, make lemonade. So I did a wood cut and did a wood cuts in there. So, and I continued with wood cuts and wood cuts and wood cuts, trying to put a note in there. This one I did many times in different types of paper. I use the printmaking paper, but I use usually when I do wood cuts, so linoleum, I like to do it also with rice paper, pink
And
paper.
you cut that into the knife?
Yeah,
The plate?
yeah, and it's so beautiful.
Is that blue one, excuse me, is that blue one, is that Einstein? It looks just like the...
No, you know what? And actually, this face I did it so many times. I put him in the show in the South Bay one, but it was just the face with more in it. And a woman, and I put something like looking for the light. And she came to me and she said, God bless you, looking for the light. Oh, and she goes, she told her, and I said, oh, hallelujah. I said, but I was joking. I go, hallelujah, my sister. And she said, oh, you are born again. And I was like, I'm Jewish, Catholic, I don't know what I am. And she said, what you did, this one. What I did, I put this face with this other one. This one is just applied wood that I started doing the umbrella sharpening. So this face, I don't have it in here because it's framed and it was very heavy. But this face, I placed it on the top of this. She thought that it was Jesus Christ because the beard, and I said, that's me, I should have shaved. And then my husband said, I didn't want to tell you. But my son Barry, when he was 17 and he was in the hospital, he was blondish. he got a beard. He said, that looks like Jesus Christ. And I said, that's me. So anyway, so anybody can think whatever. I start putting together, I start doing the background just for something, and then I just took the wood and I placed it in there. Chin, chin. So I was placing wood anywhere that I wanted. Home Depot comes again, and I took a piece of plywood, and I just go with the lines, and I said, oh, that's it, something. So I like to use still the wood cut, and linoleum, and so. So anyway, back to this. After Stony Brook, and by the way, I have to say, if nobody says, in Stony Brook I graduated with honors, but and I'm saying this because they gave me an award when the commencement were almost over in the school. I was sitting there thinking, oh, we're going to have a dinner later. Oh, should I wear this dress? Oh, my mind was someplace else. I was not listening to the dean. And he said, now we have an announcement. He said, it has been a few years, but we are going to give, for the first time in many years, a double award from the art department and the history to a person who excelled. And there was my buddy, she was from Poland, and Polish and Mexican, we didn't speak the language, and she didn't speak English very well, I didn't speak English very well, so it was a mess, the two of us, and she said, oh, it's going to be me, it's going to be me, and guess what, they announced my name, I felt like there was a hole there, and I go, wow! So I was like, wow! And the dean said, Rosamaria, would you like to say some words? And he said, better no, get out of here, don't say any words because I start talking. So anyway, no, I'm saying this because I applied for the Master of Fine Arts in Stony Brook, and I went with Perkaski, again, my professor. He was in charge of the master's program. So I went and said, Professor Perkaski, I would like to enroll for next year for the Master in Fine Arts, and I want to specialize in printmaking. And he said, get out of here. And I said, excuse me? He said, you learn, you go. We don't want you here. And I said, but you told me that I was the best. So he said, get out of here. He said, no, because you know what makes sense later on? I didn't like it, but because the same teachers that you have in the undergraduate were the same ones as the graduate. So they told me you are not going to learn. I didn't know where to go. This was 1997. My dear husband Milton wasn't feeling that good. We knew that something was going to happen. So I started looking around here, and the only place that it was closed that they had printmaking was Adelphi University. I went to Adelphi. It's gorgeous. And when I walk, it was like now, it's springtime, and I walk and I said, wow, this is for me. And I paid for my education in there. I didn't have a scholarship, and Milton didn't pay, but that was the deal that I want to feel like I paid for that. So I went, and when they asked me for my portfolio, they helped me to put it together, and I went there, mostly with pastels and drawings. So when I went there, they said, okay, you're accepted after a few months. So I started, and I went there because there was a printmaker that I saw his work, and I said, I want to learn from him. It was lithography, but unfortunately when I went, he left. He went to Oregon, and the printmaker that we have, he was an artist that took printmaking, but he was not a printmaker. She was an excellent artist. So in my second semester in there, she asked me, you want to be my assistant? I said, yeah. So they paid me a little bit. They let him go, and one day I walked into the office, and I asked the dean, can I apply again for the teaching assistantship? And he said, get out of here, I don't have time. He was upset, and oh, brother. So then he called me, he said, I'm sorry, I was upset, but I cannot find a printmaker to give the classes. And I go, oh? And I'm quiet. And he said, would you like to be the teacher? I'm temporary, 1 semester. And I said, but I'm a student. And he said, just do it. And I said, can you do it? I said, yeah. So I choose my books, and I want to learn from it. And I started thinking, and I went to Stony Brook of the teacher that I learned, the way that I wanted to teach. I said, that was the way. So anyway, so I went to Stony, I started teaching in Adelphi in 1999, and I stayed until 2010. And I left because it was, I'm still as an agent, still they can call me, but things started happening in my life, and I wanted to take a sabbatical, and so, but I still go there, and I can work in there, and I bought a big press, and I wasn't using it, so Michael Mas from the survey bought it, and so, okay, solar plates. These two, by the way, I just bought it because these ones are the ones that I did in 2000 because in order to get a one-woman show, a one-person show in Adelphi with my thesis and dissertation and so on, so I had to fill up the gallery in the university center. So I bought lots of canvas, this size, 24 by 30, and also 30 by 40. And I bought a lot of frames that I still have, if anybody wants it, I'm not using. And I took it to the school, to the printmaking, and on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I put 5 in here, 5 over there, and I took my rollers, my brayers, and my brushes, big brushes, and I started going, chum, 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 1, 2, 3. I did like a series, and that's why they have the same colors, because I was using, at that time, for the woodcuts that I was going to have, that they shoes, they were the same colors. So I finished 24 of these, big ones and a small one. But something happened here, when I was going to start making them, boom, Milton came, my husband, with his illness, very bad, and he went to heaven. I was so mad with life, with everything. So I just started throwing paint and doing, and I didn't want to go to my reception, and he went. I don't know how he made it, but he went, and then he passed away. And the commencement, by the way, it was great because all the teachers were there, and my students were with me saying, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm graduating with you, babies." They didn't know that I was a student when I was a teacher. But anyway, so I started doing this, and I started using more and more the umbrellas. If you go to my web, rosamariaeisler.com, that tells you why with the umbrellas. Remember I mentioned very briefly, when I was a little girl, that I mean it, there was no electricity, no water, no nothing. Beautiful home, but nothing. And the radio was with batteries, big ones. And so at night, my mother had this imagination. And we were outside looking at the stars. She was, this is this, and this is that. So I asked her, what are the stars? She lied to me, but very nicely. She scared me. She was always telling us about the Bible. And those were the books and the Reader Digest. And so she told me one night, she said, you see those stars? And she said, they are little holes. And I said, holes? And he said, yeah. But on the top of those stars, there is somebody living in a big light. And I said, really? He said, yeah, and he's watching you. Those are little holes that they are watching you. So you have to be good at that. So I was scared to death, so I was like always at night looking. And I really thought that the world was a big Duomo. Serious. I thought it was a big Duomo when I started learning that it was a round. I said, yeah, a Duomo with a little holes, and outside of the Duomo there was somebody very special. Sometimes I wonder, when I see the stars at night, I was like, oh, I wish there were little holes. Hello there, and I'm cuckoo. But anyway, so I started doing that. So I took this one just with the frame. Don't worry, I took the frame out because it was very heavy. I started doing the solar plates with Dan Welder, and plenty of them. And then after a little while, I went to Mexico in 2001. And in 2001, I went to Mexico, and I came in a wheelchair paralyzed. Something happened to me in there. So I couldn't walk, and I just moved. Well, many things happened. And so I didn't know what to do, and I started doing art. I took one semester off, and I started doing my work. But I went back again in 2004. By now, 2005. By now, my life was different. 2004, because I left East Pacho, the big house. My husband was gone. Sergio, that we adopted, was gone. The dog died, Baxter. My mother-in-law went to heaven. So I said, what am I doing in this house? So I went to Mexico. I moved, and many things happened in that little period of 3 months. Personal, very personal, and a lot of things. But I went back to Mexico, and I told my sister, I'm so tired. And she said, come. I went again. I go in a wheelchair, and I couldn't move. They told me that it was all in my mind, but I couldn't move. I came back to the States, and that's when I just did 6 months to the school, and I was on bed. And the only friends that they were there, though they knew, was Brother Cormier, Letty, and Lester. the three of them. I said, don't tell anybody. I went to Adelphi to tell the dean that I couldn't work, but I didn't want anybody to see me in a wheelchair and so on. So Lady was very nice because they pushed me to go out to dinner, and I said, I look horrible. From 155, I was chubby like that, and I went down to 110, just bones and bones and bones. So something happened. So suddenly, who came? Little Jake, my little Sergio got Jake, he got married, he got Jake. So I started working in solar place doing children. And Jacob I started babysitting, and he started giving me this energy. And then Kayla came. So this is my first solar play with children. So I started doing children, so far I got 45 of them framed. Luan, I leave my money there. So this was my first one. Solar plates is beautiful because you can do the work, the result, from a photograph or from a pencil, from lithography. The results, it could be like relief. Whatever you want to do with solar plates, you'll get it. You just have to go a certain way. So I did a drawing of Jakey from a photo. His father was carrying him right here in the park on the shoulders. I took a picture and I did it, and that's Jakey. So that's my solar plates. And I put it in the South Bay. And there was Jakey sleeping with his cat. And I placed it in here. And while I was doing the solar plates, they are water soluble, the solar plates. So while I was doing that, water got into there. Oh, I ruined it. Never say I ruined it. I make lemonade. I painted, I did it, and I pressed it, and I did. But then Kayla came, and Jacob was cuter because he was chubby shape. And Kayla came, and she started growing, and this is Kayla eating something, and it looked like from the Miserables. I said, like a little girl from Mexico. Yeah. And little Kayla is like me, brunette, and cute as hell, and that's so nice. So I started drawing her. So these kids changed my life completely. So then, okay, after I do these kids, last year I went to the Eastern Sub-Council. I got the artist in residence for 3 months, meaning living upstairs in the apartment, very small apartment, and downstairs was the studio. And I was working in the studio and going upstairs, take a shower, go back and do more. I bought 100 printmaking papers, and I went over 50, doing prints the whole time. And I was giving classes. I'm giving classes in there, printmaking. So it was an experience. So I was telling somebody, when I started class in Adelphi or whatever, for the semester, the first thing that I tell my student, bring one pencil and sketchbook. So recorded everything that you are doing in your life. And I do that because I didn't bring, some of you have seen some of my monotypes, and that I did chemical rain exodus, people walking away from an area that they have been deteriorating, the war or whatever. And I always now, few years since the war started in Iraq, I start getting very, very sensitive about war issues. So I start doing a lot of things related with migration. Migration, okay? People living, it could be from Mexico to the States, it could be from Italy to Russia, any which way. But I start writing in here, my journey begins, I wrote. And this is the sketchbook that I started at the Eastern Sub-Council. And the first thing that I put in here, who was June Wayne, one beautiful printmaker that died the day after I got there. So I wrote something about her, and then I started doing writing and making copies of what I was doing in there and what it was happening. So I did it. I did a whole book. But I'm telling you this because, okay, I still do a sketch, like everybody else, you know, with the napkins. I love doing it in the restaurant. But with Levi, I'm involved with art, only art, and some guy. But art. And in the 90s, early in the 90s, I did The Artist's Way twice, in the second part, with Letty and Nikki and a bunch of women, Mike Paris's wife, and it was an eye-opener. And since that time, I'm doing my 3 pages every morning, and I write whatever comes into my head and whatever, and that's it. But this book helped me, because what is happening, I'll put them in there. I have This was one of the first ones that I did in the Eastern Sun Council. These are heavy. By the way, I used to frame my pictures for many years, just like this, black and white, like the photographers. This is another solar plate, a little one, from a drawing. But this is the way that I frame it, and they stay like that. We had a show in the Riverhead in your school, and in 2009, I was selected one of the persons from the to participate in a group called Mark 09 from the New York Foundation for the Arts. And so 12 artists from Long Island they selected, and we had a show later on in the Nassau County in Riverhead in the gallery. So while I was going, the curator came, the judge and curator wanted to visit the studios to see how we live. If you go to my house, I live in Leisure Village because I'm over 55. I'm 56 now. And there, when I saw the place, I said, this is for me, it's just a studio. My kitchen, everything is brand new. When I left the house in Pacho, I gave everything away. I just kept a pair of jeans, white ones, jeans, 3 blouses, 2 coats, that's it. The rest Salvation Army. Books, out, except the art. I have a U-Haul only with my art supplies, and that's it. So, since I was telling you that I got sick when I went to Mexico, I didn't unpack my art books or anything for 6-7 months. So I live only in the bedroom, and I spent 3 days in the bedroom laying down, and nobody came. I was dying. And suddenly, I couldn't reach the phone. I was weak. Somebody, Chris, my friend, he saved my life, and he took me to the hospital, and that's where everything started. But anyway, so Leisure Village is very quiet. The people are so quiet. And so my studio is right there, and I work at night. They wonder what am I doing all the time. And I said, come and see what I'm doing. And but if you enter into my house, paintings are like everybody else from the bottom to the top. In the first room, I have all the paintings that I do outdoors. Because on Tuesday, since I joined PALS, and I'm going back next month, and before I was doing the watercolors, and I do paint outdoors. And these two, I did it in the long time ago with Baxter, my doggy. I opened my car, not this car, another car that I had. I opened it up, and my studio was there with all the oils and Baxter. So we went to South Haven, and it was in the evening, and I said, stay with me, baby. And I went, cha, 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 and I did it. My car at that time, right now is clean. I got canvas, this size. I like to work on this size, and another one, half of the size of this, the same length. And I just love doing it, outdoors, 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 and that's it. So this is South Haven, okay? The evening. So,
16 by 20, yeah.
Huh?
16 by 20?
Yes, yeah, standard size, because I bought like 50 of those in package. And this one, I went to, when I left Dan Weldon, his studio. By the way, Dan Weldon, he's still my mentor. I still work with him in occasions, like every 2 months, because he does editions, and he called me, and he's a master printmaker, and somebody said, what is a master printmaker? He does work for big names, and I'm her helper. So I'm a mini junior master, no I'm not, but we're pretty good. So I left his home, we finished early, because I started working with him at 6, and it was like, I don't know, to 1 o'clock, and he said, don't forget to stop at Morton, Elizabeth Morton, the wildlife refugee, and by North Sea. So I stopped, it's in Sag Harbor. So I stopped, and there was my canvas. And so I did this one. It was great, because I was never there, and it was spooky. It was October, at the end of October, Columbus Day. I didn't know there was a sign that said, do not enter, because it was closed. But I went through, and I went first to the beach, and I said, no, I don't want to do this. And I started walking, and I saw this, and there were some deers in there. So I started painting, but furiously, because I want to finish that. And this is something. There is always a story that I got to tell about the painting, but on this one, I got my palette, and so the easel was here. It's just half French, little one that Lillian Maston gave it to me, and I had my easel and I have the canvas and my palette in here. I said, oh, this is life, and the birds were singing and the whole thing, and the deers over there. One person came behind me and I didn't hear. One person. And I'm painting like this, but my palette was like so. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is life. And suddenly a bird came and just landed right here. And I was like, what are you doing? This is a palette. But somebody came in the back and said, hello, how are you? You were jogging? And I go, ah! So I threw the palette. No. I was joking. I said, in the newspaper there was colorful bird found. I think I killed the bird because he took all the paint. But that was a moment. So they're my outdoors. Okay, more serious.
What is a I don't know what a solar plate is. I have no idea what that is.
Get the tape in here. I did it with the demo here once.
What?
Solar plate. When you do the regular etching, you use acid to bite the lines that you have there. And solar plates is the same as an etching, but you use a polymer. Instead of having a zinc plate that is so heavy or a copper that is malleable, this is a polymer that is on the top of aluminum. So you can cut it with a scissors, with the paper cutters, whatever, to have any shape, any size that you have. The plate, this polymer, when you buy it, is covered with a black plastic. The polymer is sensitive to light and to moisture, including if you cough, saliva, or the water. If you take the top and you expose directly into the sun, it hardens. It gets harder, so you cannot use it. You can use it for collage or whatever, colograph, but it gets harder. And if you use some water, it gets softened. So what we do is the following. We have an acetate or a negative, or you can draw with an acetate with black, always black. A black Sharpie, charcoal, any kind of pencil. And what you do, those drawings are blocking the sun. Okay? It's like if I get the same plate and I put my hand and I go outside, the hand is what is going to be protected. Yeah. So after you put it under the sun, but if it's cloudy, we use a UV light box, and we place it in there. And after less than a minute and a half, I go to 150, and from there I go back and forth, depending the density of the painting. Drawing, and it could be a photograph. That's what I have, that one was from a photograph. So anyway, so after I have it under the UV light or under the sun, I take it and I go to the sink, and with a soft brush, I start washing, removing the parts that they were protecting. So those are the ones who are going to receive the ink when I start putting the ink. So it's a beautiful process. Yeah. And so anyway, so monotypes. I love doing monotypes because you can use it as a background for many, many things. What I do with the monotypes, this is just some. With the Professor Weldon, he just opened an opportunity of meeting a lot of artists, big names that they don't impress me, but they're big names. And I go like, oh, they are so down to earth, many of them. And so I like to go to his studio, even if I'm not working with him, to do some of my work. If he's not in the area, because he's always teaching, I know how to get in, and I start working. And to pay him back, I do gardening, or I fold his clothes. He's on this. I fold everything. I do something, but nothing is free. So because of that, he has taken me to a lot of workshops, lots. And in the 90s, there were more. In the 2000s, when Newton passed away, it was more that we used to go. It was for many times he teaches for the New York State, the teachers, the ones that they have every year. And I go there, and I'm his assistant, and I'm meeting a lot of people. And that's where I met Michael Mas in one of those classes. And Michael Mas, we became very good friends, and we started doing solar plates together. And I sold him my big press because I was not using it, and so I have a small one in my studio. But because of Van Weldon, I met a very gorgeous guy. No, his name is Ron Procraso, a printmaker from New Mexico, and And I was invited to go to Italy, to Florence with him, Dan Weldon, but that was when Milton passed away, and before I couldn't go because Milton was ill. When Milton was gone, I said, I can go now, and he said, okay, next year. So I went every year, well, 3 times, when there was the biennial in Venice. So I took advantage because I paid for my stay there, and they gave us nice places, nice apartments. The first time it was far, far away, and my job was going into Santa Reparata, the School of Art, International School of Art, which is behind the Academy in Via de Gallo, next to the, well, not next, very close to the market. I was like a tour guide after that in Florence.
Wow.
So it was absolutely gorgeous. But instead of being with him, with them 3.5 weeks, I went 3 weeks before, and I stayed 2 more weeks or month because I got friends there now, and I stay with friends and whatever. But and that helped us because we went to Venice, and I went by myself too, and I got lost, of course. I still got lost. And then another year I took a tour of a guy, a person went with me, and I gave it a tour. But anyway, so this has been very good, you know, knowing him and so on. So this was one of the models, and in the morning I had to open the school, and the school was a big door, then another door, then another door. So I looked like St. Peter with a bunch of big keys. So after I opened up, I had to put the air conditioning. It was an L-shaped building, so and upstairs was photography and computer. So I was running, opening all the places, and then coming back to printmaking to prepare the stuff for all the painters that they were coming, all the printmakers. So in the evening, I learned with Professor Procrasso. And he told me so much about monotypes. Hey, and listen up. And we have a model, and this model was very good. So what I did, I put paint on a plexiglass, and I ran into the studio, and I took a piece of business card that somebody left, and I started removing the ink and creating the model by removing. And it was so good, and I ran back to the studio and passed it through a piece of paper. Then the next day what I did, I put paint on the plexiglass and I placed it on the top. So I was, Professor, and this was, I did plenty of this one, and red and yellow, because the model was there every day for 3.5 weeks, and sometimes it was just a sketch, and sometimes I didn't have time. I was there, the school was over, we had to close at 9 o'clock, the studios. So I closed, but some people, they were doing work, they stayed until 10:30. So at 10:30 I went to my house, I went like this to my kids, waking up, stinking, because I was smelling all the paints, turpentines, whatever, but it was horrible. Next time that I went, I replied to live across the school, and I live across the school, so I just went, take a shower, eat, and come back, and it was great. But this is monotypes, and this one I put a reunion because I placed these people in here, and going somewhere. The paintings that I do with the umbrellas or without umbrellas nowadays is just people going somewhere where I want to be. I'm living my life, I'm serious. I was so lucky meeting Milton. I was happy before, you know. I got like 20,000 boyfriends and going and coming and going and traveling to Europe and whatever, and backpack. I was a girl from the 60s, I was like a hippie. But when I met my husband, he changed my life, this guy. He was so beautiful, and we spoke the same language, meaning chemistry. After he retired, and I asked him, can I retire too? And he said, yeah, but we're not going to travel that much. And I said, I don't care. That's when I went back to school. But this is, I mix and match. This is, Chris, this is a solar plate. I just cut him and I put him in here on the top of a monotype. So the monotypes, I just leave it. I just create colors on the plexiglass, pass it through the press with that paper, pass it through the press, and it just come. Back in the Eastern Council, those are monotypes, okay, one of the kind. This is monoprint. The difference between monoprint and monotype, you do it in the plexiglass or in the back of a zinc plate, in the back of solar plate, wherever you want it, but in an area that is going to be without any scratches, any dents, any nothing. So when you paint, it comes I like monotypes because they're so spontaneous.
Does it mean monotype mean goes through one time?
It goes one time, but you can do it twice if you have enough paint, and that's called a ghost. And as a matter of fact, Mr. Degas, he used to do monotypes. He didn't use the first one, he concentrated on the ghost, and then he used the pastels, and many of his pastels are based on monotypes. But monoprints, when I went to the East Ends, I wanted to bring everything. And by the way, when I was there, some of you were in my talk that I have at the end of the artisan resident, but I was in Riverhead and I said, what in the world am I doing in Riverhead? I live 13 miles away because I applied to go to Brazil in an artisan resident. That's what I'm doing, artisan resident, or what I'm trying. And I spoke Portuguese. I put pictures of Portugal, of Brazil, and so on, so on, so. But they told me, no, thank you, we'll take you in consideration. So then when I got the Riverhead, I said, that does it. I'm going to change my mental attitude. I'm going to think that Riverhead is a foreign country, far away, where they speak Spanish. Yes, indeed. And so I walk every morning by the water. And there were so many of my paisanos, so many Latin American people, and I was like, good morning, with the policeman. I went and I introduced myself because he used to look at me like, what is this woman doing? And I said, listen, and I said, my first Sunday, I left the apartment and I crossed the East Ends gardens, and this policeman is looking like this. And I saw him and I said, excuse me, officer, and he said, yes. And I said, I'm Rosamaria Eisler. Yes. And I said, you are going to see a lot of me because I'm going to be living upstairs for 3.5 months. And I said, so please keep an eye on me. He did. And he remembered me because I blew the alarm once and he was like, no. But anyway, so I started doing mono. I had an etching plate, a zinc plate, an etching plate, and they have lines. So this is a monoprint. So I started just throwing paints. And when I say throwing paints, I use paints that we use in monotypes, Createx paintings for monotype, but I also use ink, etching inks, but I also use Carandiage, soluble crayon, and I just place it in here, pass it through the press. So I was having so much fun with this one. I did only 10, but on the 10 is the same plate, if you can see. Hold it higher. How am I going to hold it higher? My assistant, no, my beautiful Marlene. You see the lines in here. This is the same plate.
Right.
The same plate. What I changed was the paint and the consistency and the figures, whatever. But that's what I do. So whatever I find, I recycle, I do it, and then I did an etching. So they go, ooh. So I did many of these. So anyway, then one of my best persons that I met also through this artist tour was Hector de Cordova, you know. And with Hector, he was very good because he maybe because we speak the same language, native, but he also nice people. I started doing these monotypes. I tried to get rid of the umbrellas. I couldn't. They stopped coming again.
Still there.
So I did this one. It's called threshold, going passing.
Threshold.
Everything it has to be. It's not nice to say, but it has to be with going up. I'm ready to go. I'm happy to be here, but I'm ready. I said my brain doesn't take me. I miss my husband a lot, but then when I told Lira Kayla, oh, someday I'm gonna go to heaven. No, don't leave me here. I said, that's right, baby. I have a lot of things to do. I was left here after my husband for a reason, I said. And the reason I threw myself into my students in Adelphi, and I helped them a lot, giving the advice on the sites and so, and it has been good. And my students, many of them, we still keep in touch, many of them, because they are teachers somewhere here. But anyway, so this was one of the first ones that I did for Hector de Cordova in the gallery. Hector in the Cordova Gallery in Greenport was the best thing that could happen to me, because we went and during the reception I sold 4 big ones and I sold 3, and so he kept bringing me, and I sold them to people that I never met in my life. One of them was a famous writer that now I read her books, Ursula Hegi, Stones from the River, and she's a German and she's married to Gordon Gagliano, a painter. And so it's beautiful. So you can put it down, please. And you can go. All right. Remember the book that I told you that I was writing? My journal. It's very personal because I played hooky once and I went home and one friend of mine was living in the house. So I went there. I stayed tonight with him in Tarara. But anyway, so there was this woman, there still is, in Riverhead, and we start talking in Spanish, it's a Mexican store. So I start getting, we start talking because she was spooky. She was coming from where my sister lives in Mexico, very, very close. Many things they were in common, and she got 2 kids and the husband. And she started telling me that she couldn't go back, her visa, that she's legal, but she couldn't. So she told me the story of her life. One day she told me, my husband, when he crossed the river, I came here, I am so lucky because Sharon took me from there and put me over here. I was earning more money in Mexico than in New Jersey, but later it was all right. But I came legally, straight. But my brother, when he was 18, the oldest one, he crossed the border. And his blonde blue eyes, my family, we are all different. The men's are blonde blue eyes, the women's are different. So anyway, thanks to Cleo. Just kidding. So my brother crossed the border and he suffered a lot. And then he became legal eventually. At that time it was easy, he's 70 something. So at that time it was easy. But this woman started telling me, he said, my husband crossed the river. And I said, the Peconic River? And he said, no, woman, in the border with Texas. And I said, oh, so I started thinking. My work, I was doing the big prints at night in the East Ends. So that night, I started going, and who was with me? The place, if you see the East Ends, the carriage house, Chris Taylor scared me because he said, that's a spooky house, didn't you hear? And I was like, no, it's from the 1800s. And there is a school, one-room school from the 1800s, and I swear that I felt like I was looking at kids all the time, my imagination, so I painted. So anyway, at night it was so quiet downstairs in the studio. I love it. Once in a while I saw the policeman, the patrol, and I knew that it was him. So I started doing this with the help of Neil Diamond in my background. Neil Diamond is my boyfriend, I always said, he's engaged, but he was singing. I put it in with my computer, and there was this song that I never heard of him, and I thought I knew everything. It was called Crossing the River, Crossing the Jordan. So I started thinking about this woman, and I go, huh? So I started going, I got 3 big plates, okay, plexiglass. One, I put yellow, but the yellow was oil. The next one was red, it was water. The next one was purple with black, it was a mixture to make it dark. So 3 of them. So I put the first plate and everything came yellow. And I left the paper there. Then I took the second plate and I put them in there. So I started building, and I started throwing things in there. So somebody told me, why there are 2 holes? I didn't know at the time. But anyway, and I put myself in there. So this one, this is Neil Diamond. Take me to the other side of the river, the Jordan River. The woman is telling me about the river. Little Kayla, and that comes later, she went to visit me and she said, what is that? And I said, McDonald's. And I said, it's on the other side of the river, we cannot go. And she said, take me there. And I said, only in a boat, baby, and I don't know how to row a boat. She told me, she believed me. So I did this one at night, but you see how much paint is there. So after I did that, there was my ghost. And since I was using yellow in the plate, there was the yellow remaining there. Many of the paint remain because water and oil, they don't mix, but I love to mix them. So I did the second one. So that one is called Take Me There to the Other Side of the River. And then this one, can you read it for me? Where the golden arches.
Wait, yeah.
So this one was, he was thinking about Kayla, the golden arches was McDonald's. I was thinking about the woman, and then guess what? Can you please, the last time? This is it. Thank you. I owe you one. And this one is not in the other side. but a bunch of ink came in there. It was like a,
Yeah.
and I said, whoa, baby, it looked like a person is holding into the fence. And I said, oh, this is my Mexican border, the States and the people crossing, because I was listening, my sister lives in the border of Nogales, and there was a tunnel. And everything came the same time, and I said, oh, that's the tunnel, so that's what I wrote in here. That's the first one, and this one is the continuation. That were the golden horizons away. So that was my interpretation of it. So that's it.
Nice.
So wait, the last thing. That's it with this, okay? But I did 25. Luan had my paycheck in there because she framed them, and I continue with that. I start doing artist books. When I'm blocked, I do artist books. And I was reading sometimes, and I told my students, they said, we don't know what to do. I'm not creative. I said, we all have creativity. Look at my face, that's creativity. And if they don't get it, I ask them to go for a walk. And I do the same. When I am kind of blocked, on my mind starts coming with certain thoughts that I shouldn't think about it because it's lent, I go and go for a walk. And this one, I went outside to the river again because I didn't know what to do. So I did a little book, and it's called By the Riverfront, because I told the policeman that I was the riverhead woman. So, can you hold it for me, please? So there goes an accordion, okay? So it said By the Riverfront. And this one was just a monotype that I cut in pieces. I didn't want to throw it away. So, and in here I wrote, early autumn, warm evening, because it was the evening, sitting by the riverfront, bright colors, golden, warm reflections started to dance, blending, immersing into the deep blue, purple, flowing waters of the river. And then it goes, I close my eyes, a gentle breeze caressed my face, whispering, feel the wind, because it feels so good. The water, the warm sun over your body. Feel me, feel you. And so I did. My river, my sunset, my breeze, myself. So I said, ooh, spooky. I like it. And I did this one at night, and I was just writing, and I said, so I showed it to one of the, by the way, upstairs, I live in the apartment upstairs, but the other side of my apartment in Riverhead, there was the music department. And there was this person who played the piano, gorgeous, and I had music at night, and I was going with the music. And he said, can I see what you did tonight? Because he saw me outside. He said, what are you doing? I said, I'm sketching, and you'll see later. And later he came, and I said, it didn't work out, but I made a book. So he said, you have to be kidding me. I went to see the waters, they are murky, they are not purple. I saw purple, I swear. It was the sunset. So I did a lot of sunsets and sunsets. So artist books are very, very good for me because I start writing, describing myself.
That's amazing.
And in the back, I just put paper left over from another print, and I start journalizing, so to speak. So this one is... This one, okay, there you go. Sweet Departure. These are woodcuts, and this is the woman that you saw, remember? And this is another woodcut, and so I start writing in here wherever time flies by. I'm instead.
Rosa, when do you ever sleep?
Can you believe? No, this is serious.
Serious?
Guess what?
If you ever sleep.
Guess what? I sleep 10 hours every day, like a baby. Yeah.
I would imagine.
But the whole day I'm doing something. Anyway, this is me. When I was, when something happened that I told you many times, I was on the couch like this, and my best friend took a picture, and he said, this is the way that you look, that's the way that you want it, shake it up. So I put him in here, Michael must got it, he put Michael. So again, sweet departures come and went with you. Strip down to my soul, I close my eyes and dream. Wake up and let go, but you got the idea.
Probably the most imaginative person I've ever met.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I just put things in there. Now, and Steve was doing the music, so I went to Paris. I traveled. I have traveled to many places, and there are many that I have to go. I was looking the other day, somebody from Curie sent in the Facebook the 100 foods that you have eaten. Probably they send it to you, everybody has it. So I started looking how many I ate, I have eaten 79. The other ones are worms and crickets that I want. But there are many, like Higgins, many Mexican things that I always taste everything. So anyway, I went to Paris for the first time. I wanted to go so badly, but Milton was anti-Paris, anti-French. He didn't want to go, no. So I went with my niece, 36 years old. She was going to a convention, she's a PhD, whatever, and the daughter of Margarita, my sister, so she said, you want to come with me, but you're going to be on your own 3 days. And I said, can we go for 16 days, 17? So we did. So the rich Tia paid for everything. So those 3 days that she left me, they were the best, because I was with her for a week, and I knew Paris, because we walked, and this woman with so much energy that she got, 36, and she was there before, she took me everywhere. And then I took a book from the Longwood Library, Walking Tours of Paris, and I went to it, and it took me 6.5 hours instead of the 3. But I saw Paris, so I took pictures and I did solar plates of all the musicians, only musicians. So I did it in a book, because my boss, Steve, is a musician. I said, oh, I have to do something for Steve. So I started writing in here, but everybody in there is from Paris, and they were outside of the Louvre and so. So this is a book, again, and again, it's me, because I put on a rainy summer day, I heard melancholic, harmonious sound floating on the air. I stood still, just listening. There he was, and that was true, hiding from the rain. He was hiding from the police, because they don't let him play outside of the Louvre. And playing with his harp, a man, his music is shallow with angelic beats, so etc., and I end up with him, you know. But this is the book about.
That's so wonderful.
All right, the last one, and we are going, and then cook, you're still here. There is I did photography, but photo black and white. I still struggle with digital cameras. I got 3, and they go bad every time, and it's a Nikon, and I don't know what I do with them. But I go back to my Pentax 1000, and I like black and white, and I thought that I was going to become a photographer and so on. There is one artist, one photographer, and his last name is Schwartzberg. And I found it on the internet, because I was looking for photos of flowers. I don't do flowers, but I love flowers. I got flowers on my little 3x3 in the house, flowers, white flowers every day in my kitchen, carnations. So anyway, this is a person who took a picture of a flower when it started blooming, you know, opening until the end. So he wrote something, and these are not his words, but I wrote it in the
Journal.
I wrote in my journal. I didn't write. I copied what he did, but then I said, I'm going to forget about that, but I repeated many times because I like it, what he said. And it was, he wrote with the help of somebody else. At the end of the video, there was an old man, a little baby girl, and then you saw it, and it's gorgeous. It makes me just feel, so it started with today, but I changed the words a little bit because, so I did an accordion again, and I put kiss, and I said open doors by Rosamaria Eisler, and I put inspiration from Louis Schwartzberg. Anyway, so I wrote it like this, and I put this kiss. Today you stood at the door. And these are monotypes, by the way. I pass it through the press, and pass it through the press, and I cover, and so on. So today you stood there at the door. So you think this is just another day in your life? There comes my helper. And the second one, okay? This is me. So open your door, open your eyes, look at the sky. Notice how different it is from moment to moment. Go through the door. Even the weather now is a unique weather that won't come back the same again that is right now. The next one, open your eyes. This is open the door, okay? Open your eyes, look at the faces of people we meet. Each one has an incredible story behind their faces, don't we? Open your heart. Let everyone you meet today be blessed by just your smile, your touch, just by your presence. Open your mind. If you learn to respond as if this were the first day in your life and the very last one, then you'll be spending this day very well. Open your soul. Let the gratefulness overflow into blessings all around you. And this one. Open your senses. If it rains, be thankful. Look up, not down. The formation of the clouds on the sky will never be the same that is right now. Open your eyes. Be surprised by the light and incredible arrange of colors that is offered to us for pure enjoyment. And the last one. So today is not just another day, it's another day that is given us to you. So open your door, let go, and be there and here for me today. That was my message. So this one I did it, and I told my best buddy friend, and I said, this is you, so open your eyes. Art has been very good to me, and in any shape, from music or whatever, but painting. Background, my mother was not a painter, but she did miracles with her hands. She got terrible arthritis, and I'm going in that way. Beautiful crochet, beautiful things that she did. When I was born, she did my figure of a girl with flowers. I love flowers, but that's about it. So I went to a church where my mother was born, in the south of Mexico, in Guerrero. It's a little town, gorgeous. Still, you go there, it's in the mountains. You go now by car, and you see guys, with cars. Most times, no, the horses by car. And still you see the horse, the wagon, and the church is still there. And the guys go to the right, and the women to the left, and that's how they meet. That's my mother and father, they met there. But in the church on the top is an Anthony. There is a big sculpture. And everybody goes there because they say that it's a miracle saint. So there are two St. Anthony's, one on the top, one on the bottom, made of wood. The one on the bottom, the one up above, I don't know what it's made from. But that was made by my mother, half-brother.
Wow.
And the story goes that when he was a little boy, he was playing with clay all the time because it is there in the mountains. And at that time, President Obregón, this is in the 1920s, the Mexican president went to this town, and the security or bodyguard saw the boy doing that, and they called to the attention, and he was doing the face of the guy. So later, they gave him a scholarship, and they sent him to Mexico City, to the Esmeralda, but he quit. And he went back to the town, and he started doing the sculpture, and they're there, the saints, and I'm like, oh, holy Moses, gorgeous. But that's my only background. My sister Margarita, she was 6 years older than me, and she was a biology major, PhD education, a kindergarten teacher, half in the architecture. She was everywhere, taking classes everywhere. At the end, last year, she went back to get her BFA in the university. And she was the oldest one, but she was the most active little woman. And
Runs in the family.
she got kidney problems, and they have a transplant from the girl that I went to Europe. She gave it to her mother, and they told her it's going to last only 10 years. And she said, are you kidding me? She lasted 15. But Margarita, remember, she retired to be with my mother at the end of the year, and she started painting. And she was interviewed in the university, and they asked her, who is your inspiration? If they ask me, I always say, Kirchner, because of the wood, because we know you. I love the German expressionists, and I wish I were in that time. I want to be there and live that moment. But she was very nice because she said, my sister Rosamaria. So I thought, oh my God. And my sister took classes of painting with big names, and she did big paintings. She got more exhibits than I had, solos. And she did very well, and a few months back, they have a posthumous, and she sold in there. Her husband wanted to sell many things, and then she was going to graduate in August 30, and she passed away the 22nd, but they gave her the degree to the husband. So it runs in the family somehow, crazy people, but I love doing art. I think art, I will sleep with art. No, I sleep with Chris. No, just kidding. No art. But I try to help. The Eastern Subconscious has been very good to me. I'm a volunteer there. Every time that they want me to do seal envelopes or send mail or answer the phone or give classes for free or send me to high schools or whatever, I'm always saying yes, 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 because they're good.
You're
So,
an amazing lady.
yeah, so chemistry is back. I have my friends chemists over there, but they retired already. My ex-boyfriend chemist is there before Milton. Every everybody's in that direction. But now I have my new family, Art, and the artist, and I love it. And
We're glad to have
so come and do some prints with me anytime. My studio.